I was working at a hotel in New Zealand. A British guest came down to breakfast and asked what time the BBC News would be on the TV in the lounge. I told him we don't broadcast BBC in New Zealand. We have local channels. He looked genuinely confused and said, but everyone watches the BBC, don't they? It's the main news channel. I explained that New Zealand has its own news services. He shook his head and said, yeah, but for proper world news, you'd watch the BBC. How do people here know what's happening in the world? I told him New Zealanders are perfectly informed through their own media. He muttered, seems a bit isolated, and spent the rest of his stay complaining he couldn't follow British current affairs. I work at a bookstore in Canada. A British woman asked where the English language section was. I told her the entire store is in English except for a small French section. She said, no, I mean proper English books, British authors, not American ones. I showed her the fiction section, which had authors from all over the world. She picked up a book, looked at the spelling and said, this is spelled wrong. It says colour, not colour. Don't you stock books with correct spelling? I explained that's American English, which is standard in North America. She said, but it's wrong. English is from England. You should stock proper books. She left empty-handed, insisting Canadian bookstores had low standards. I was a tour guide in Iceland. A British man on my tour asked why all the signs were in Icelandic. I told him because we're in Iceland. He said, yeah, but most tourists are English-speaking, so wouldn't it make sense to have everything in English? I explained that Iceland is its own country with its own language. He said, but English is the international language. Everyone learns it. You're just making things difficult for tourists by using Icelandic. His wife agreed, saying in England, all the signs are in English because it's the most important language. I pointed out that England is an English-speaking country, so that makes sense. He said, exactly, so everyone else should follow suit. I work at a pharmacy in Australia. A British woman came in with a prescription from her UK doctor. She handed it to me and asked me to fill it. I explained I couldn't accept foreign prescription and she'd need it to see an Australian doctor. She got quite indignant and said, but it's from a proper doctor, a British one. Surely that counts everywhere. I told her medical prescriptions don't work internationally like that. She said, that's absurd. British medical standards are the highest in the world. You should accept our prescription. Her husband said, this is why the Commonwealth is falling apart. You lot don't respect Britain anymore. They left furious, saying Australia was backward for not recognising British medical authority. I was working at a train station in Japan. A British couple asked where the queue was for tickets. I pointed to the ticket machines. The man said, no, the queue for a person. We don't use machines in England. We queue at a counter. I showed him the one customer service window, which had a short wait. He said, only one person working. That's terrible service. In England, we'd have 5 or 6 windows open. His wife said, and everyone here is just using machines. Don't they know that's taking jobs away from people? I explained that Japan has embraced automation and it's very efficient. He said, efficiency isn't everything. You've lost the personal touch. British train stations are much better. I work at a university in Sweden. A British exchange student asked when we'd be celebrating the Queen's birthday. I told him we don't celebrate the British Queen's birthday in Sweden. He looked shocked and said, but she's the Queen. Don't you mark it at all? I explained that Sweden has its own royal family. He said, yeah, but the British royal family is the real one. Everyone knows them. Your royals are just copying us. I told him the Swedish monarchy predates the current British one in some ways. He said maybe, but ours is better. Everyone loves our Queen. He genuinely couldn't understand why Swedes weren't celebrating British royal events and suggested we were missing out. I was a waiter at a restaurant in Portugal. A British man asked for the bill. When I brought it, he looked at it and said, you've charged me for water. We don't pay for water in England. It's free in restaurants. I explained that in Portugal, bottled water is standard and there's a charge. He said, but it's just water. That's a basic human right. You can't charge for water. His wife said, this would be illegal in Britain. You have to provide free tap water. I told them they could have asked for tap water, but they'd ordered bottled. He said, you should have told us there was a charge. This is sneaky. They paid, but deducted the water cost from my tip, saying they were teaching me about proper British standards. I work at a post office in South Africa. A British woman wanted to send a parcel to England. I told her the cost and delivery time. She said, 3 weeks. That's ridiculous. It only takes a day in England. I explained that international shipping takes longer. She said, but South Africa is part of the Commonwealth. Surely it's faster between Commonwealth countries. I told her it doesn't work that way. She got frustrated and said, what's the point of the Commonwealth then? You lot should have priority shipping to Britain. We're all connected. Her husband said in the old days this would have been sorted. The Empire had better logistics. They sent the parcel but complained the entire time about post-colonial decline. I was working at a cinema in Singapore. A British couple bought tickets for a film. Halfway through, the man came out and complained that there were subtitles on the screen. I explained that Singapore has 4 official languages and films often have subtitles for accessibility. He said, but the film is in English. Why do we need subtitles? It's distracting. I told him many Singaporeans appreciate them. He said, but for native English speakers like us, it ruins the experience. Can you turn them off? I said, no, they're part of the screening. His wife said, in England, we don't have subtitles unless it's a foreign film. This is just pandering. They demanded a refund and left, saying Singaporean cinemas didn't understand proper film presentation. I work at a car rental agency in Italy. A British man picked up his rental car and came back 5 minutes later, furious. He said, the steering wheel is on the wrong side. I need a proper car. I explained that in Italy we drive on the right side of the road, so the steering wheel is on the left. He said, but I'm British. I can't drive like that. Don't you have any right-hand drive cars for British tourists? I told him no. All our cars are standard Italian models. He said, this is discrimination. How am I supposed to drive on holiday? His wife suggested they just cancel and get taxis everywhere, saying Italy should accommodate British drivers since they bring in so much tourism money. I was a lifeguard at a beach in Brazil. A British woman approached me and asked why we didn't have deck chairs lined up like British beaches. I explained that in Brazil, people bring their own chairs or rent them from vendors. She said, that's disorganized. In England, councils provide deck chairs. That's proper beach management. I told her this was a public beach and people preferred the freedom. She said, freedom just means chaos. Look at everyone scattered about. You need regulation. Her husband said British beaches are properly organised with zones for families, zones for swimming, all marked out. You could learn from us. They spent the day complaining that Brazilian beaches were too relaxed and lacked British structure. I work at a government office in Ireland. A British man came in asking about residency requirements post-Brexit. When I explained the new rules, he got angry and said, but I'm British. I shouldn't need permission to live in Ireland. We're neighbours. I told him that Ireland is a sovereign nation with its own immigration policies. He said, yeah, but we're all from the British Isles. It's basically the same thing. I corrected him, saying Ireland is not part of Britain. He waved me off and said, it's all connected though, isn't it? You speak English, you use pounds. Oh wait, you use euros now. That's silly. You should have kept the pound. Anyway, I shouldn't need a visa. He genuinely believed being British entitled him to live anywhere in Europe without paperwork. I was working at a museum in Egypt. A British tourist asked why all the information plaques were in Arabic first, then English. He said, shouldn't English be first? Most tourists speak English. I explained that Arabic is Egypt's national language. He said, yeah, but for international purposes, English should take priority. That's just logical. His wife said in British museums, everything is in English first because that's the main language. You're confusing tourists by putting Arabic first. I told them they were in Egypt. She said, we understand that, but tourism is your main industry. You should cater to English speakers. They took photos of the plaques and posted online, complaining about Egypt's poor museum curation standards. If you've enjoyed this peek into the British bubble, give it a like and subscribe for more. Cheers.